Hey, what is up? And thank you for listening to Operation Agency Freedom, where we are bringing you top secret advice from the world's most badass digital agency owners. These amazing men and women are sharing their stories of how they have built 6, 7, and 8-figure digital agencies and how you can too. My name, of course, is Chris Martinez, CEO of Dude, where we help digital agencies by giving them the people, the processes, and the education so that they can take on more projects and scale profitably. And on today's episode, I have got my good friend Clayton Joyner from Turbo Medical Marketing. If you've never heard of Medical Marketing, they are definitely somebody that you want to watch. They recently made the Inc. 5000 list for their work that they did in, I guess it would be 2019. They're growing like crazy. We've been working with them for, gosh, close to a year. And it's really, really incredible to see them grow and the amazing things that they're doing. And what I love about Clayton, one is, as you'll hear in the episode, this dude can talk. I mean, he is just blessed with the gift of gab. And his stories of how he got started in his professional career in sales are really, really interesting, and the things that he was able to accomplish. And I think it's really interesting as well, because a lot of us are not very good at sales. I actually started out my career in sales as well, so I can kind of relate to the things that he's learned. And I've been able to take my own sales skills into my agency and now Dude, of course. But to hear it from somebody else's perspective and the things that Clayton's done is really, really amazing. And just the business in general that they have built, working with this really high end niche of like aesthetic medical professionals. Great niche. They're charging really good rates. They're making good money. I know that that the executives are making good money too. So pay attention to this episode. Check it out, take notes, and then Clayton's nice enough that if you want to reach out to him, I think he gives you his email at the end of the call or at the end of the episode. So hit him up. Super nice guy. Hope you enjoy. Talk to you later. What's up, Clay? Good
What's going on,
man.
dude? Oh man, another day in paradise.
Yeah. Where are you located at again?
So we've got multiple locations in the U.S., but I'm currently in Huntsville, Alabama.
There you go. That technological hub of Huntsville, Alabama.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. I feel like I have to justify anytime I say that I live here. No offense to anyone listening who may be in Alabama, you probably relate, but yeah, Huntsville's a really unique oasis in the state of Alabama, and specifically the Southeast. I think we're the second in the nation to Silicon Valley for research and development.
No shit.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
That's amazing.
we just picked up the Space Command is now moving here. We're headquarters for Homeland Defense, and a second Langley is basically being brought into town. We've got Google, Facebook, SpaceX, NASA, Lockheed Martin. I mean,
Is there just like a lot of like engineering schools that are in the area, or like why does it?
well, well,
There's so many companies flock there.
it actually started back when von Braun was brought over and
Mhm.
helped develop like the stealth bomber
Mhm.
and the nuclear missile and all that stuff. We're basically the headquarters for aerospace research and development. So all of the missiles, rocket technology, we have literally more PhDs per capita than anywhere in the nation and possibly even in the world. And we have, when you go to LA and you ask people what they do, they say they're an actor, usually. Uh, you can't throw a stone without hitting one. But that's how it is here, but literally with rocket scientists. The number of engineers and rocket scientists here are incredible.
That
Uh,
is absolutely amazing.
Being in a service business, though, is definitely proposes challenges when you've got NASA rocket scientists jumping in and asking about your quote. They want to know a lot of detail.
Yeah. That is one unique thing about working with engineers is they're so smart. They like get really into the weeds. But
Sometimes, despite themselves.
yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to talk more about the agency and your work in the agency world in a second. But of course, we do our roundtable discussion. So I learned something about you not too long ago that you were an aspiring model at one time in your early life.
You can
So
tell how well that went, which is why we're now talking about marketing, right?
I'm going to do my best not to give you shit. But from one dude to another, like, I mean, obviously you're a good looking man. I can say that with confidence and not feel weird about it. But I would have never guessed that you would have actually tried to be a model. And I think in my entire life, I've maybe met one or two male models. So like, how did that get started?
Well, I think it started with a big delusion. That would be the first step. And then after that, no, actually, I was a lot thinner and had more hair back when I was younger. And I was actually dating this girl who happened to be a model.
Okay.
And she said that you should come down. And I kind of going even further back, I used to be the guy in the club scene, right? Like I was in the circle doing the dance and I was like, I like knew everybody. Yeah, anyways, every cliche movie you can think of, I was that guy, right? And so I ended up meeting this girl. She was a model. She had picked up a contract up in New York, and she said, "You need to talk to my agency. I think you'd be great." And at the time, I think it was more personality driven more than anything, right?
Hmm.
And I interviewed for a few commercials, and I landed up, and they're local, right? Nothing big, car commercials and the newspaper. And so, anyways,
This is in
the agent.
Alabama, or this is when you after you?
Actually, yeah, I apologize. Yeah, this is actually in Augusta, Georgia. At
Oh,
first, that's
okay.
where I'm from, home of the Masters. The big, I don't golf, ironically, but that's where it's from. But yeah, so I ended up talking to her agency, and they picked me up, and then when they put me in some talent shows, we did well, and then I picked up a few commercials, and then from there, I ended up moving to Atlanta and deciding, and I got picked up by an agency in Atlanta. Everyone kept pushing. I'm a stubborn guy, which is a very redundant pattern in my career. You tell me what I can't do, I'm going to try and do it. So everybody kept trying to push me towards the commercial side of things, right? So if you really broke everything down, there's commercial and then there's like fashion, right? And the fashion are like the anorexic, meth people in black and white in your photos, right? You're like, how are they a model?
Yeah.
But there's something about that that's really elite when you get in there, right? And I'm competitive as hell. So everyone else is like, and the other side is commercial, right? Which is like, the dude showering in the commercial, with the soap and they're running down the beach and like, and those actually pay more, ironically, in hindsight. But I, for some reason, wanted to pursue what they told me I couldn't do, and that was an interesting adventure. But yeah, I moved to New York City shortly after moving to Atlanta. I had a buddy of mine who I was in the same circle with back in Augusta, who moved to New York first. And he says, "Man,
Hmm.
quit goofing around and get to the big city." So we made the decision that I was going to move up there with him. So that was an interesting adventure, to say the
And
least.
how long were you in New York, and how well did that actually go? Because
I
that's
was in,
that's like the model hub. It more so,
oh
I think, even
man.
than Los Angeles.
Well, it was interesting. It was, well, I got up there and I realized I hated it. That was the short answer. Yeah, no,
You
I
hated
love
New
New York.
York, or you hated the
No,
modeling? Oh,
I
okay.
love I love New York. It was the modeling piece, right? I got in there and I realized that I can only have so many conversations about who it was that I knew and what I ate for the last 7 days, right? How much weight I had lost and who I had met, right? Before I was like, I need more substance than this.
Yeah.
And ironically, I was taking acting lessons in Times Square downtown, uh, New York, Manhattan, and I was waiting tables. And because I was broke, I was having to pick up every shift I could get. Whatever
Hmm.
time I had left over after that was spent doing the modeling or the acting lessons, right? And whatever money I had went to them as well. So I basically woke up, waited tables, like picking up 50 shifts a day. It felt like I would then go to acting class. I'd give them all my money, pay my rent, and I was like a rinse and repeat. And I did that for about 2 years. Had a lot of fun. There's a lot of really cool adventures. Got invited to some interesting. That's an interesting world, right? That whole industry is a very interesting place, and got invited to a lot of like model parties and a bunch of celebrities and different things like that, and I was more of a wallflower. Got some pretty interesting stories I probably can't go into as well, but I met like the guy that wrote Dawson's Creek. I don't know if you remember that. I'm dating myself here.
I remember that show. Yeah.
And he had a really dope apartment, big stage with karaoke inside of his New York apartment. That was pretty wild. And there's some, like a Night at the Roxbury where they got the big guy at the front of the line saying
Yeah.
people can or can't get in.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate enough to have friends that got us behind the velvet rope and we're able to get into that. But it's just in hindsight, it's just an alien environment. So
Yeah. It's
contrary
not
to where I'm
like
at
real
now.
life.
No, no, it isn't. But met a lot of friends and had a great time. Learned a lot about what I do and don't like, and found that this is more my path. And I enjoy marketing and helping grow businesses and um, putting wins on the board, solving puzzles. That's my game.
So what was the let's transition now. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I didn't bust your balls as much as I thought I would. Um
If you saw some of the pictures, you probably
oh my
would.
God. I'm gonna tell Liz that she's got to scour the internet and find some photos of you, like half naked or something. So
Skyliner.
let's yeah. So how did you end up getting into marketing? So right now you work for and are one of the partners at Turbo Medical Marketing. So what's the journey that you started on in this marketing path?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I've been in sales since I was 15, ironically, and sales is kind of what led me in the marketing to the marketing path. Back in the day, of course, it was all guerrilla marketing. It was just word of mouth, pounding the pavement,
Hmm.
building flyers, and my version of funnels was like designing a flyer with an offer with a phone number that led to an appointment, right? Like it was all
Hmm.
organic to a degree, spending hours dropping thousands of flyers on windshields and parking lots and all kind of things like that. So when I was 15, I went in and sold myself to the gym. I said, Listen, I want to get swole and I don't have money and I'm too young to have a job technically. So I offered to go and pick up weights around the gym and clean the gym for free if they'd let me work out. And so
Oh,
they did.
perfect.
Yeah. So I sold, that was my first sell, I guess, if you will. And from there, I met a good buddy of mine who was doing sales for the gym. And he and I cut up, and of course, he wasted a lot of time when he was on the job. You got a lot of downtime when you're doing sales at a gym, right? If
Right.
you've ever done that. So he and I got to talking, and then one day he called out and said, "Hey, man, can you cover for me one morning?" And I got to go somewhere do something. I said, "Sure, dude. I'll be happy to do that." So I show up, and of course, I'm terrified. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
And this is
All I know,
membership sales, just to be specific. Yes.
yes, yeah, gym
Or are
membership sales.
also selling personal training sessions too.
In this case, it was just membership sales. I was at a
Okay. Okay.
powerhouse
Okay.
back in the
Cool.
day. Yeah, and so to set the scene, so I'm this 15-year-old kid sitting in this windowless office, right, off outside of a gym floor, and they brought in a couple guests to come talk to me, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was terrified, but at the end of the day, I had sold like 3 memberships the very first day they came in, and they're like, and the owners of the gym were like, "Holy crap, this kid's got maybe let's explore this." So I came back, and then they gave me a part-time gig where I'd come in after school. I'd put in a few hours, and before I knew it, I was the top salesperson. Even beating my buddy in
Wow.
part-time. And so from there, that's kind of what started the whole thing. I did that. And then I went from there. Then a new gym opened up in town. And it was so funny. I'm like 16, and these guys are trying to put me in a non compete and like hold my last paycheck because I told them I was going to go work at this other gym. And lo and behold, I get the job at the other gym. Now, this is what's really interesting is this is when I really hit the grind on sales, right? And what really helped me with guerrilla marketing, it was pre-sales. I don't know if you've ever been a part of something like this, but when they do
Like qualifying.
pre-sales is like the gym's not fully constructed yet, right? So it's still under
Oh,
construction.
okay. Yeah. I know that they do that with Orange Theory a lot. Like that's one
Yeah,
of their launch strategies is that you pre-sell a certain number of memberships. Yeah. Okay.
exactly. So what they do is they come in and they have all the concept art put together, and they're on easels, and usually it's in a shopping center. So there's a building next door, or there's
Hmm.
a trailer out front, right? And they take you in, and so they give you kind of a virtual tour, if you will. And we had the easels, and I walk in, and there's 5 other salespeople, all like twice my age, and there's easels set up with all the features of what's going to happen and the layout of the gym and all that stuff. And then everybody's got these those ugly gray fold out tables, right? So, and we're all sitting there with pitch sheets basically and trying to set appointments. And so I get the job, I show up, and they're like, "Okay, now you need to have X number of appointments a week." I can't remember what it was. And I'm like, "Really?" I was like, "How?" No, well, that's why we hired you. You're supposed to figure that out. So I'm like, "Oh my gosh," I started to panic. I thought I was going to lose my job.
Was it commission
But
only or was there like base included?
it was a little bit of base hourly salary.
Yeah.
And then after that, I mean, the job was basically 80% commission,
Right. Right.
if not more, actually, in hindsight. But so what I did was, without knowing what else to do, I literally grabbed a phone book and I started with A, and I called every single person. And I think I may have made it to like K
Hmm.
before I finished. And I would call them and I would say, "Hey, congratulations. I just want to introduce myself. I'm Clayton. I work with Omni Health and Fitness. We're opening up here in Evans, Georgia. And you've been selected and you've won a membership, a free trial to the gym. Just want to say congratulations, introduce you, and want to invite you to come down and pick up your pass. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, congratulations. I just need to get your name and your phone number. I mean, your time slot figured out to get you come down and take a look at the gym. And I'll show you around and give you your pass. You get to go home. How did I win? I didn't even enter the gym. But then I was like, oh God, or the contest. And I said, like on the fly, my first thing out of my mouth was, well, we have a lottery system with the yellow pages we've worked out and you won. So, man, and I crushed it, bro. Like I had people coming in and out of that gym like a boss. Now I might've had to call 20 people to get one person to answer,
Yeah.
20 more to get them to show up. But with that said, man, I ended up crushing that. So that actually what really kicked me off from there. And I went from that to they opened up a second gym, and before I knew it, and in between, and by the time I got to the second gym is when I moved off and I left for a little while to New York, and I came back. I made the decision to come back. I was missing my family. My grandmother was getting older, and I felt like I was wasting brain cells. To be honest with you, no offense to anybody who's an actor or model. I think that you're just better than me. I'll say it that way. Um, and so I decided to come back. And when I did, I got a job back at the gym. They had opened up a second location, and within, I would say, 8 months, the average gym person who was doing great was selling between 30 to 60 memberships in a month, right? I was averaging 130 to 150 a month and did that
Wow.
consistently for almost 18 months. And I had built an entire system around it. At this age, at this time, I'm 21 years old.
Holy
And
crap.
yeah, I wrote a manual. I wrote a whole like program, sales program on how to sell and put
Hmm.
a system together. I built a lead management system. It's all paper based back then. I went to
Hmm.
Staples, picked it out, like designed on Microsoft PowerPoint or something. The Not PowerPoint, but their version of before it was Word.
Illustrator or something. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
remember what it was
Some
called.
I can't remember. Yeah, it was one of the older ones, but he had clip art and stuff. So I went in and like built the logo out on the front, slid it in the top of the front folder, and then built some the sheets in there, made the 3-ring binders, punched them all out, and then inserted everything in. And before you know it, that the GM at the time picked that up, and they're like, "This is incredible." So then they reprinted it for everybody, then put everybody on the same system. And then I got an opportunity to go down to Florida and open up a brand new health club in Florida, which was 40,000 square feet at 21 years old. And they gave me a shot to manage it. And now one of the original founders of Hooters was the guy behind launching that gym down there. So, which is interesting. So I went down there, did pre-sales, and I kid you not, out of 13 sales rep, I trained them all. We had a goal of 1,000 memberships, and I got through December 1st. We had by March 1st, we had to get 1,000 memberships on the book, and out of 13 reps, I sold 780 memberships by myself, um, and then got fired shortly after, which was interesting. They ended up turning everyone they brought down. They turned over the head of training, head of apparel, head of sales, and they hired our replacements at a much cheaper price. But it led me to a great path, and that's what got me into sales. Going fast forward back to your question, and I did that, and then I got into banking. Then I was a loan officer. I'm sorry, I was a loan officer, then a banker. So I got into small business financial specialist. Then I became an insurance agent. I grew a scratch agency from 0 customers to 2,500 customers, which is almost a $3 million book. And then that's when I met my best friend, Chris Moore.
Mhm.
And he was already into the digital marketing game. I knew how to build. I felt like at that
What
time,
year
really,
is this? What year is this? Just
this was
approximately.
7 years ago.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And he, what was interesting is I met him. He was also a licensed real estate agent. I was doing insurance by now. And we were both given a seminar talk to a group of fresh recruits that were about to graduate real estate school.
Okay.
And I met him. And in one conversation, I was like, bro, we're going to be best friends. Just throwing it out there, just so you know. And sure enough, we've talked every day since 6 years. But what was funny is back then, I don't know if you remember this or not, but the animated videos got really huge, right? The
Yeah.
explainer
The
videos.
whiteboard videos. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did those in my agency, so I
Yeah,
remember those.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yo, he was man, he killed those things. Did great. We ended up landing I said, bro, I could monetize the crap out of that, right? Like if you can do those, I can sell it. Guarantee, right? A thunder and lightning. And so we ended up getting a deal with the Hertz and sold a bunch of explainer videos for their add-on programs to Hertz so they could use it in their websites
Wow.
and things like that, which was really cool. And then we decided short and and it was funny because he was in the MLM space,
Hmm.
right? Multi-level marketing.
Hmm.
He was working for like I've never been no offense to anyone listening that is a huge MLM person. I dig it, right? I respect it. Not my game, but he was working with all like the black diamond, double black diamond. Like I don't know how the whole thing works, but he was working with the top guys and I mean, they had like 30,000 people. We worked with Organic Gold and the Five Links and Paycation and all that stuff. And I just eventually said, bro, we got to get out of this, man. Everybody's jumping around. It's just not stable. So we decided at that point we were going to launch our own agency. And
Hmm.
that was pretty interesting. We got a whole story behind that too. But so to round out that question, yeah, that's how I got into it. Was sales led me down this long path to meeting Chris. Chris was in digital, and then we just combined forces at that point. Decided to launch our own agency.
That's awesome, man. So, I mean, and you guys have accomplished a lot in the few years that you guys. What year did Turbo start officially?
So
Like
Turbo
the
actually,
medical side.
yeah. So Turbo had existed since 2009, I
Okay.
believe. So they were already had started by the time Chris and I got together.
Hmm.
We ended up joining them after. Actually, it's a funny story, if I may, on how we met them. Chris and I had launched our own agency, and what was funny about that is that when we started, of course, I'm like, let me do some recon, right? Let me find out who else. We're thinking local, right? This is new to me, like, so I'm not thinking national at this point, outside of that Hertz deal. And I said, let's see what the competition's doing. So I go and look and see who's doing digital marketing here in town and didn't really see anything. I found one go-to meeting. Is that what it's called? The meetup, the group meeting thing? Anyways,
Meetup. Yeah.
meetup.
Meetup.
So we found a meetup where someone's going to do a hosting event for that. So it was me and Chris. And we have a buddy of ours who's a computer engineer off of the Arsenal, Redstone Arsenal here in Huntsville.
Hmm.
And we decided we're going to show up to that. So I get off work now. Chris and I are working together at the insurance agency at this time. This is right before we launched our agency, and we're getting off. So I'm in like I look like an insurance agent, right? Shirt and tie, and like,
Yeah.
and Chris is too. And then of course Mark had gotten off of work from the Arsenal, and he's got on glass. So we roll up literally looking like Reservoir Dogs. I was still I still remember, like, we got sunglasses on and suits. And I mean, if I don't know why, I still don't know why, but Mark had a briefcase. I'm like, who still carries briefcases,
That's
bro? Like,
amazing. I'm gonna start carrying one now when I go to conferences.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm like, come on, man. What are you expecting to do here? So we roll in, and our goal was just to roll up and get to this meeting where everybody's at and just kind of sit in the back and listen, right? Scout it out. And we walk into the building where it was supposed to be held. And before we know it, there's no one in there. And around the corner comes this young girl who says, "Hey, can I help you?" We're like, "Yeah, we're here for this meetup." And she goes, "What meetup?" And then we're like, and we're looking straight up, literally like Reservoir Dogs, right? All blacked out, white shirts, ties, hit Mark's briefcase. So we're like, okay, gigs up. No incognito mode here, right? Like, we can't hide in the back of a room. So we told them what we were doing. They were here for the meetup. We wanted to learn. And she goes, "Oh, okay. Well, I forgot all about that." And so it turns out that this girl that we met with was the one who owned the agency and was going to be given the meetup. Her assistant, who happened to be in the hospital, was the one that scheduled it. She forgot about it. So she sits down with us, and she's like full blown ClickFunnels, right? So this was our first exposure to the whole ClickFunnels scene and
Mm-hmm.
digital marketer and all that at the time. And we got to know her. So of course my brain kicks in. I'm like, I'm the business guy, right? So I'm like, hey, so you've got some skill sets we don't have. We've got some skill sets you don't have. I think I can sell the crap out of this. Why don't we team up? So we met with her, and that's how we launched our first agency. It was called Perception Technologies, and we were trying to, and we're doing basically funnel marketing in the beginning. So that's how we kicked off the first agency and got going.
Yeah. And now, I mean, you guys just won or you got on the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies, like you guys are
100%. Yeah.
crushing it, So like, what are some of the steps between that fateful meeting and, end of 2020? What did you get the award in 2020 or 2021? I can't remember.
It's on my desk here. Let me look at my
Or I
dates.
should say, was the award for what you guys did in 2020 or 2019?
It was for our 2019 efforts. We got
Okay,
awarded
cool.
in
So how did you
2020.
get to that point? Like, what are some of the things that you guys did that led to that massive growth? 'Cause
Well,
I
I
think
mean,
requirements to apply, because we're looking to apply this coming year, is that you have to get to 2 million in revenue, and then they look at past 4 years, I think.
yeah, you have to have had done a certain amount of volume. I think it's the $2 million mark within a
Mhm.
time frame, and then you have to have shown growth over that time frame, and then you have to actually submit your, you know,
Financials
account,
or returns
yeah,
or something. Yeah.
yeah, documentation to prove it, basically.
Yeah.
And then from there they have to select you, if I'm not mistaken, right? Because they get a lot of applicants, and
Right.
so we were able to do that. So how we got there is honestly is a series of failures that led to us finding that success. Ironically, so the first agency we started, I mean, I got us to probably almost 700 $800,000 in recurring revenue
Mhm.
within 90 days.
Wow.
The girl that we teamed up with had a huge network of inbound referrals, and within 90 days, we found that she was not going to be the ideal partner. When we would lose $60,000 in revenue in a week because she just didn't like them and fired them and didn't bother to say anything to anyone until I went to go reconcile the books.
Yeah.
So I quickly realized that wasn't the ideal fit, but it was a blessing in disguise because she was in a mastermind that I went to with her. And I ended up meeting Matt and Tom, my two business partners who have Turbo. And so that's how I met them. And at the time when I met them, they were at about $480,000, and I think they were in a kind of a tough spot. Chris and I were coming out of a tough spot, and I called them up on the way actually to a Ninja Warrior competition, which is a whole nother discussion. And I said, "Hey, man, I think that." And what I liked about them, with one, they were super chill, but they were really dialed in, right? Like it wasn't, "Hey, we do marketing," because and you know this as well as I do. You can't be so general today and be successful. I mean,
It's just too much competition. You just get drowned out,
and
commoditized.
it's a nightmare because you can't control results, right?
Right.
Like,
Right. Right.
people now expect that, it's a light switch. Marketing's a light switch. I hire you, I pay you money. Now I get rich, right? Like that's the
Yep.
math, right?
Yep.
And that's what their expectation is. So until you really niche and you have that dialed in, you have predictable funnels, it's really difficult to be able to scale and be successful. They focused on the aesthetic market. So it was plastic surgeons, med spas, dermatologists, and to me, we were coming from being general, like, "Hey, tell me your hopes and dreams, and let us try and figure a funnel out for you," right? That's where we came from. And when we were successful, but gosh, it was
Hard. It's hard.
it's painful, bro. Like, it was so painful. And at 3 out of 5 would work, and the other two were really difficult conversations. So when they were so niched, and this is our specialty, we help plastic surgeons grow their practice. I was like, gosh, that's so clean, right? I
Hmm.
love
Hmm.
that. So I called him up and pitched the idea of us working together. He loved it, and the timing was serendipitous with what they were going through and what we were going through. So we started working together. So the first 2 years of us working together, it's been 6 now, I think, in total that we've since I worked. That Chris and I joined Matt and Tom, and we all became a big team. And the first 2 years, I literally was 100% commission. I didn't know what I was doing because I didn't understand their product or how it worked or anything. And I'm just running off of hopes and ambition, right? And I'm just smiling, dialing, grinding. And I probably made in commissions, I probably made 30 grand the first year and a half, on that. And but then it started to click. And before I knew it, one of the gifts that I have is systems and process and understanding experience, right? Customer experience design. I do a lot of neuroscience, neuromarketing studies. I do a lot of customer experience design and infrastructure studies, lean, all the lean systems, Kanban, agile. Because my background, I got a degree in computer information systems, right? So
Oh, cool.
I got a wide net of background, and and I'm a graphic designer, right? So I do a lot of design work too. So it just created this really cool intersection between creativity and technology, right? And psychology that I was able to leverage. And so I when I started working for them, I wasn't super excited about the websites they were building.
Hmm.
I said, bro, this is a couple years ago. Like, we got to step this up. So I started tackling that, and I said, the product that we're offering, that doesn't make as much sense, man. We got to put a stronger offer together. The deliverables need to be more clear. We need to have better systems in place. And so slowly but surely, I changed. It was the Olympics. Ironically, it was the Summer Olympics of a couple years ago, or a few years ago, and it gave me the idea. We're going to do bronze, silver, and gold. Why not, right? And the whole psychology of
Right.
product
Everybody
offers.
goes for the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I said, well, what's the attractive offer I want to sell? And how do I position this? And we're trying to hit all the segments of the market, right? There's a whole lesson in that, by the way. Not only niche, but pick a segment you want to serve. You don't have to serve them all, right? And I typically recommend going to the highest segment first, the higher ticket segment, then moving
100%.
backwards.
Yep.
Most people go the other way. So with that said, we launched the new products. We started upping our game on our web. Chris jumps in and starts really elevating our lead acquisition for the clients because
Hmm.
he's a genius Facebook marketer. And before we know it, also we're getting momentum, and I'm doing sales. And man, we went from 480,000 a year to within about 2.5 years to over $2 million in recurring revenue for the agency.
That's awesome.
And oh man, it was incredible. And we're at a very interesting stage now because since COVID hit, we went, the first quarter was rough. We didn't even take a paycheck, right? Because it was important to us to make sure that all of our employees were paid and that
Right.
our customers were taken care of. So we gave
Yep.
everybody a bailout plan. We gave them a chance to drop down to a maintenance level plan, reduce their cost dramatically till everybody figured out what was going on.
Hmm.
We took the hit as owners because we felt like that was the right thing to do. We want to keep our team intact, let them feel safe and protected. But even despite that, our numbers are way up this year in
Oh
sales.
yeah.
Once we rebounded, we doubled our staff this year. Now we're up to like 30 something employees,
Wow.
almost 40 now employees. We've hired our first PhD to come in and work with us. I mean, it's incredible the amount of growth and turnaround. But that's how it went. It just took a lot of hey, this didn't work. Let's learn from it. Let's improve it. And the systems and process to me are the backbone of the whole thing. If and this is a stat that I think is very interesting, is that 80% of the revenue you'll generate in your business, and you could probably argue this is higher, over the lifetime of your business will be generated off of reoccurring revenue and referrals, right? If you drive experience well.
Hmm.
And so much of our energy and effort is so devoted to how do I acquire brand new customers, cold traffic conversion, right? Whether you go from cold to warming it up, and in either way, it's new customers. But over time, if you look at the pie of your business, in theory, if you're doing things correctly, the number of brand new customers who've never worked with you before should be a smaller and smaller piece of your pie over time. And I think that for us, what helped us get to where we're at now is really honing in on customer experience and the infrastructure and becoming scalable on the back end so that we can replicate that same experience. So as we grew, we didn't get a deprecated or a degraded client experience.
Yeah. It's way harder than it sounds, and I'm sure that you can attest to that. We don't have time to get into it because we are actually out of time. And so
Maybe do a part two.
yeah, we absolutely will do a part two because there's so much more that I want to get out of your brain and into the ears of our listeners. But anyway, like I said, Clay, we are totally out of time. So we're gonna have to pick this up in another episode. But what's the best way that people can get into contact with you?
The easiest way is well, it depends on who you are, but you can either reach me directly at Clayton at turbomedicalmarketing.com if you need to reach out to me about anything specific agency related. Otherwise, for any customers, turbomedicalmarketing.com is actually our website. We're actually about to rebrand. It's going to be trboadvance.com. So that's coming out soon. We're
Fancy.
up in our game here, and it's going to allow us to go in a few other directions. But yeah, if you'd like to get in touch with us, feel free to reach us at turbomedicalmarketing.com, and hopefully by then you'll see the brand new website experience, and you can opt in from there or reach out to me directly, Clayton at turbomedicalmarketing.com.
I always ask this of everybody: who would be the perfect person to reach out to you? Whether it be an agency who just wants to get to know you because you're a cool dude, or they have a referral, or even a client who might happen to be working, who would be the perfect person to reach out to you?
Well, clients, our specialty in the moment is we work with in the aesthetic industry, which is plastic surgeons, med spas, and dermatologists, specifically cosmetic dermatologists.
Mhm.
We're branching out to ophthalmology and orthodontics and a few things too. But if you're needing help growing your practice, that is our focus there. Obviously, if you're an agency and you just want some help or you would like some to talk, assuming that there's not a million different conversations coming in that I can't field. I would love to be able to talk with you about any questions that you might have, and you can reach me at my email.
Perfect. Hey, thanks so much for being on the show today. And to all of our listeners, thank you all for tuning in today. And make sure that you return next Thursday and every Thursday for the next episode of Operation Agency Freedom, I guess.